Howdy howdy, I'm Jolly Green, your #1 guide to enjoying your through hike. Today we're going to be going through 3 different conversations that you need to have with yourself to be able to do hard things in your life. From hiking the Appalachian Trail to becoming a happy non-smoker. To give us a brief little visualization of what these 3 conversations are going to look like, you've got to convince yourself of 3 different things if you're ever going to do anything hard that requires you to really challenge yourself. Number 1, you got to convince yourself logically. Number 2, you got to convince yourself emotionally. And number 3, you've got to convince yourself that it's your new identity.
I lost something once. I lost something I couldn't live without. My identity.
With these 3, I like to use the visualization of a thru-hiker with their backpack. You see, a thru-hiker is the person that has the legs and the motivation to do hard things. They're the ones that are going to be going outside on this rainy day like today, and they're the ones that are going to convince you to take your next step. However, the thru-hiker is lazy. Whenever you're doing things like going up a hill or challenging yourself, it's the thru-hiker that gets challenged, and it's the one that is using up all of their energy. And all of your energy is a limited resource, and that includes willpower too. Check out this video on ego depletion. Then you have your backpack. Your backpack is how logical you are. You see, you're not going to make it very far without a plan and a strategy. However, if you pack too much and start packing too many of your fears, then the thru-hiker is going to quickly get worn down. And when the thru-hiker is worn down, then any plans go out the window and you might as well just leave your backpack on the ground. And finally, we have your identity, or the trail that you're choosing to hike. You're never going to complete the Appalachian Trail if you're not on the right trail. And same goes for the identity that you have. Whether it's training to become a thru-hiker or becoming a happy non-smoker, you have to live that identity and simply start asking yourself, is this the way that my chosen personality would like to be? And then you can ask yourself the question, is this how that personality would react? So for me, when I was becoming a happy non-smoker and living that identity, whenever I was going through withdrawal cravings, I would just ask myself, would smoking right now be something that a happy non-smoker would do? What would it look like if I was happy about this? And by being able to ask yourself these questions, you are far more likely to actually live the goals that you're trying to produce. Ooh, there's a barrel over there. Neat. I wonder what that's doing out here. So, we're going to go through all 3 of the conversations, and if you can master all 3 of these, then you can do any hard thing in your life. Starting with, the only way that things are ever going to get done are emotions. There has never been a logical decision ever made in all of human history. With studies done and people that have had the emotional centers of their brain dampened, you'll find that even if they understand logically what they need to do, such as one example of a person sitting out in the sun, increasingly getting sunburned, knowing that if they moved to shade or put on sunscreen, their problem would be fixed. However, it was found that emotions are the only thing that drive us to do anything. So if logic doesn't actually drive you to do anything, but emotions do, why do you need your logical systems? You see, logic is simply the tool that you use to make sure you don't die while you're actually doing what you want to do. With this, I'm going to use the example of smoking, because logically, we all know it's a bad idea. We all know the statistics, we all know how bad it is for us, we all know that it's going to kill us. But that doesn't really matter with our logical systems, and can quite honestly make us feel worse, which would then emotionally bring us back to the place that we want to be, which is better, which was usually at the hands of a cigarette. Which is why it doesn't matter how much you logically try and talk yourself into doing anything, it doesn't work. Logic is just the tool that you use to make sure that you're doing the emotional part that you need to do. And then finally, that brings us to our identity. Our brains require a lot of consistency in thinking about who we are. And when it comes to habits, it tends to be whatever has succeeded in the last day is what's going to succeed in the future. However, in a very interesting book called Why We Remember, it was shown that the parts of our brain that activate for recalling memories and imagination are the exact same. When you're trying to remember how to do something and you're imagining how to do something, you're using the exact same part of your brain. And so by imagining how it would be if you successfully did something is actual mental training for doing it successfully. In studies done showing participants either doing practice or just thinking about doing practice, it was shown that they had very similar results. And so by having that moment where you just think about how would you react if you were doing this, and the more training you do and the more thought you put into something is actually great training for what it looks like in the real world. Whenever you're imagining yourself, pushing yourself for another mile, really picturing how sore you are, getting the details in your mind and then pushing through it in your imagination is a great way to train yourself to do it in real life. And the same goes for smoking or anything else hard you have to do, is imagining the situation, playing it through in your head, going through as many details as you can, makes your brain feel like it's already learning. And if your brain is learning and using those memories, then it can use them next time. So rather than identifying yourself as someone who is quitting smoking or someone who might be hiking the Appalachian Trail all the way through, we might not know, you've got to commit to the full identity. And whenever you commit to the full identity, then your brain will start, ooh, I'm getting close to the road. When you start getting closer to that full identity, then you can start actually picturing yourself in situations where you need to react the right way, and then asking yourself how you would react if you were in that situation, but taking on the skills and personality that you would like to have. If you're trying to do anything hard in your life, such as hiking the Appalachian Trail, becoming a happy non-smoker, or overcoming any addiction in your life, or trying to pick up positive traits such as running, jogging, going to the gym, or contacting your loved ones more, you have to, one, figure out what your emotional hook is. And simply put, find the way that makes this fun for you. Because if it's not fun, then you're not going to want to do it. So even if a situation isn't fun, you can always find ways to make it fun for you. 2, logic is a fantastic point, but no decisions get made logically. Logic is just the tool that we use to make sure that we set ourselves up for success. And then 3, identity. By incorporating and having the right identity, then you can start making sure that you're taking the role and the steps of the person that you want to be. By incorporating all 3 of these things together, you can make sure that you succeed in whatever hard thing it is that you need to do in your life. Whether it's hiking thousands of miles or just making sure that you call your mom this week. There are only 3 conversations that you need to have with yourself to make sure that you can do the hard thing. I know that you can change yourself and become the person that you want to be and overcome any obstacle that you have. So let me know, what are some ways that you have viewed your identity in the past, and how could you change it in the future? What are some ways that you've seen that emotion has ruled over logic in your life? And what ways have you set yourself up for success using logic? I love you all, and I'll see you all again. Happy trails.